Minecraft is a game that upon exploring its lore, it only gets more and more tragic. And a lot of the lore can be found through its music. See, one of the oldest secrets in Minecraft was not actually through playing the game, but through grabbing the audio file and looking at it through a spectrogram, which if you don't know what that is a visual representation of audio. And grabbing specifically the K14 audio file and viewing its spectrogram, you end up unveiling a creeper face. And now while this little imagery doesn't really hold any scary lore, it's more so an Easter egg if anything, I wanted to talk about the music discs in Minecraft, because some of them tell a chilling story of the people that used to exist before our players stepped into this world. And I know many people have made videos on this, but due to some leaks of Mojang's next game, we actually have some more information about the Minecraft lore. So if you've played Minecraft, you know that in the game you can encounter multiple different music discs. Some stand out more than others. Disc 13, 11, and 5. These discs aren't really playing music, they're more so playing audio recordings of the old Minecraft world. And also looking at disc 11 through a spectrogram, you can actually see a face on the left side followed by some numbers. 1, 2, 4, 1, 8. The number 12 is actually hexadecimal code for C, aka C418, the creator of this soundtrack. But upon hearing this soundtrack, you hear running, breathing, and more strange sounds. Disc 5 also has a lot more monstrous things, and many people have broken down and theorized the 3 different stories that these all tell, but I don't think you should be playing these 3 discs separately. You should actually be playing them all together. See, if you count to 13 seconds, play disc 5 on the 5th second, disc 11 on the 11th second, and then disc 13 on the 13th second, you realize that all these discs combined give you a full story. And here, we'll break down what I believe is happening. So we start off with a person exploring a cave. We hear this person somewhat panicking, and then starts the marching. It eventually fades, and then we hear some coughing. And now this is where it gets really weird, because then this sound plays. Yeah, it kind of seems like time is moving forward, kind of like a time skip or something. But shortly after that, we start to hear the man flipping through pages, writing while hearing a tune nearby. What is he flipping through? Well, either he's writing in his journal, as seen in the Lost Journal books, or he's the author of the Mob Beastry book. Anyways, the man proceeds on forward, again scared of something. He then mines some amethysts, and then shortly after, he begins to hear phantoms. Again, time moves forward and we suddenly hear explosions happening nearby. Carvings appear to play out, and then a strange portal-like sound, and that's when the first monstrous sound is heard. Many people speculate this sound to be that of the Ender Scent, a creature from Minecraft Dungeons. So perhaps there was already some ancient builders that already became Endermen at the time. But continuing on with the disc, the man is walking when he unfortunately steps on a skulk sensor. Which, if you don't know, when stepping on one of these things, it alerts the warden, which we then hear its roar and then the sound of a wither dying. And that's when the disc comes to an end. So it does get a bit confusing at the end there, but that's where it's up to us to fill in the gaps. See, those explosions that we hear actually came from the wither attacking the man and his people. They ran into the caves in desperate pleas for help, started up the portal as a way to try to escape, because at this point, this whole Minecraft world has become corrupt and full of evil. Except upon starting up the portal, they actually summon the warden, who manages to kill the wither. But now the big question is, who summoned the wither? Because we know this thing can only be created by a person and not actually spawn in on its own, so how did it get there? Well, that's where we find our answers across the world of Minecraft, because looking through all these items scattered around, we actually know that the wither is the beginning of the ancient civilization's doom. Literally, like when you spawn in the wither, you actually get an achievement called the beginning ? And once you get it, you get another achievement, the beginning. This one's more of a statement. Now this is in parallel to killing the ender dragon, where you get the end ? question mark and statement achievements, but again, how was the Wither created? Well, in my last video, I talked about the ancient builders who were once humans similar to that of the player. These ancient builders would explore the overworld and create beautiful architectures, but then they created the Nether portal. From here, the ancient builders would scavenge the Nether and build fortresses to protect themselves from mobs that rule this area. We know this because also found in the Nether fortress are diamonds, horse armor, and other things not naturally found in the Nether. And now it's safe to say that not all the ancient builders were able to survive the cruelties of the Nether. Some would end up dying, and when their bodies fell to the ground, something happened here. Their souls would become entrapped in the soul soil, which would eventually turn into soul sand. That's why you see these faces here. I mean, the Nether is already a hell-like dimension, so it makes sense souls get trapped down here, but it only gets worse, because those souls would become restless. So restless that they would sprout back to life as wither skeletons. But unfortunately, these wither skeletons lost control of who they once were, and instead would attack their fellow comrades. The ancient builders couldn't stand seeing their friends being trapped like this, forced to live eternity as this restless creature, so they tried to help them. See, they knew the soul sand carried magical properties, so they decided to experiment with these blocks and combine them with the wither skeletons. They were hoping that with this combination, they could bring back their friends, using their souls trapped in this sand and their skeletal system. But instead, what they created was far more terrifying, because they created the Wither, the beginning of their end. See, the Wither would end up destroying many of the ancient builders, shooting explosions at everything in sight, and even though they were eventually able to defeat the creature, the Wither's horror was already done. Because when a Wither kills an entity, what's found in its place is a Wither Rose. This Wither Rose has a chance to spawn Wither skeletons and zombified piglins, meaning that the Wither was the beginning of the zombie apocalypse in the overworld. And now all those zombies you see attacking you at night and attacking all these villagers, those were all once ancient builders. Yet, it was this undead horde that would destroy many of the ancient builders, leaving them to be lost in the Trail Ruins, the oldest civilization that can be found in the overworld. But some ancient builders did manage to survive the horrors of the Wither, and they decided to leave markings of the Wither in their architecture to serve as a warning. But unfortunately, the next generation of ancient builders didn't listen. See, when you come across these desert pyramids and desert wells, there's a chance that you could find pottery sherds, which looking at them, you could see that they all have unique designs on them. And some of these sherd designs found in the pyramid and wells are that of a skeleton and another of a person with their arms up, almost as if they're worshipping the dead, meaning that it happened again. The ancient builders were obsessed with bringing the dead back to life, and it only gets worse when they find this painting. See, in the Mob Beastry book, in the Wither page, it mentions how some scholars knew of the Wither's existence even before witnessing it, but they didn't know how to summon it. It wasn't until a bizarre painting began to appear, showing a T-shaped group of brownish blocks topped by 3 white-eyed heads, and thus the search began for information as to what this creature was. This also explains why we can find ruined nether portals in the desert, because they were looking for the soul sand, and they did eventually find it. They also found the wither skeletons, and they decided to mimic the painting and these ancient drawings here, not knowing that they were about to repeat history. Fleeing from the Wither and its undead army, many of the ancient builders would head to the caves and start a new home that we know today as the ancient cities. Here, they would live deep underground where the Wither would be far away from them. But still being surrounded by the undead, they knew they couldn't stay there for long. So they began working on a new contraption. We know this because in the ancient city, there's this giant structure that almost resembles a portal. Yeah, even in the game files, there were smaller versions of these things, literally called small portal statues. And even underneath this contraption, we find redstone materials as well as soul sand, and in case it wasn't obvious, soul sand is originally from the Nether, so these ancient builders went into the Nether again, brought it back to the overworld to mess with death again, but this time in hopes of getting out of this world for good. Because the Nether had proved to be a dangerous place, the overworld was becoming far more difficult to live in, so they needed a new world to live in. And to prevent the Wither from destroying this portal, the ancient ones even built it out of reinforced deep slate, an indestructible block that can survive any blast. The only thing was, the portal wasn't ready. Going back to the disc, the man hears explosions nearby, only to realize it was the Wither. and it was getting closer and closer to him. The man ends up fleeing for his life, but the Wither already knows of his existence and begins to follow him. Seeing how his city and people are about to be destroyed, he starts up the portal and outspawns another monstrous creature formed from souls of the dead. Now, the monster that spawned from this portal could be the Warden, or it could have been this creature. So this is a leaked screenshot from Mojang's new game that's currently titled Project Spicewood, which more than likely it's going to be a Minecraft Dungeon sequel. But yeah, here you can obviously see the portal being activated with this large Warden-like creature appearing, meaning whatever this portal did, it ended up spawning in something far worse, because then this creature and the Wither would end up fighting each other, which leads to the death of the Wither, as heard at the end of the disc. But what happens after? Well, the ancient builders would soon realize that these creatures were actually blind and only sensitive to sound. So they decided to place carpet down across the city so they'd be able to walk along peacefully. And this actually ended up working for them, because the creature would be able to protect them from zombies, spiders, and any creatures that could cause harm to them. That's literally how this creature got its name as the Warden. They were under his supervision. But then things got worse, because messing with death has its consequences. Because when the Warden and this creature came in through the portal, what also came along were these alien-looking blocks. One of these blocks is known as a skulk catalyst, and if a mob were to die near it, instead of the mob dropping experience points, the mob would turn nearby blocks into more skulk, further spreading the undead. And we know that they're the dead because we could literally see the animations of ghosts forming in the blocks. Not only that, but the skulk shrieker has ghosts swimming around it, and it also literally shrieks when you stand on it, summoning a Warden to come and protect it. Yet, even the Warden itself has souls trapped inside it. Again, this is all a reminder of the failures of the ancient builders. These spirits were once their dead friends, who are now forever restless. And with the spread of the skulk getting worse and losing more people, it became difficult to live in the city. The ancient builders knew they had to leave, and so they did. They went further into the caves and created strongholds to keep away from the Warden and the other mobs around here. They would create the end portal. Through here, the ancient builders would slaughter the dragons that lurked around the area and survive off of eating chorus fruits, which is a fruit that upon eating it will teleport anyone a short distance. But consistently eating this fruit would eventually transform the ancient builders into what we now know as the Endermen. But again, not all ancient builders turned into Endermen. That was only some of the population. See, there wasn't just one group set of ancient builders, there's literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of ancient builders spread across the lands. Some of them were lost in the nether and became wither skeletons, some were buried in the trail ruins, others were infected by the zombies, some ended up drowning, and some became Endermen. And now, judging by this leaked image of the sequel to Minecraft Dungeons, looks like we'll be getting more lore to show us what exactly was going on in the ancient world. Where do these portals actually take us? What mobs have we yet to face in the Minecraft world? Anyways, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Goodbye!